All kinds of things to talk about.
Oh, boring stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Good evening and welcome to the Portsmouth School Board meeting in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Tuesday, June 14th, the year 2005, here at the Portsmouth Chambers at the Portsmouth Municipal Complex. I'll ask Dr. Lister to give us a roll call, please.
Raymond Bowles.
Here.
Nancy Novelin Clayburgh.
Here.
Nancy Craig.
Here.
Clay Hayward.
Here.
John Lyons.
Here.
Carvel Teff.
Here.
Charles Bond.
Here.
Ann Walker.
Here.
Andrew Canassi.
Here.
Linda Brulette.
Here.
Ann Mayer.
Here.
Kenneth LePage.
Here. In a moment, I'm going to ask that veteran Charlie Vaughn on Flag Day lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I'm going to ask that we rise for a moment of silent reflection. And today we were notified that Ellen Tucker's husband, a para at Little Harbor, a longtime para at Little Harbor, her husband passed away today. And also Chance Allen, Title I employee, her father passed away yesterday. So please keep them in your thoughts and your prayers. And also, as we enter into graduation week, keep our students in your thoughts, and students keep themselves safe during this time of growing and experiencing life, and not to do anything foolish, and allow themselves the chance to grow. Also a reminder that baccalaureate is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the high school. If you want to see our students, and when we're quite often and challenged, as I stated yesterday, for audits or how the school functions, I would highly recommend that people go to baccalaureate and the awards ceremony on Thursday at 12?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock now. Okay, 1 o'clock. We had a great awards ceremony earlier. But again, keep Eleanor Tucker and Chance Allen and their families in our thoughts and prayers as we rise for a moment of silent reflection. And Charlie, will you lead us?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, before the moment, I'd like to, as an old soldier, ask people to, in their thoughts, to think of the troops that are in Afghanistan and also in Iraq, and for their protection. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Patty, do we have anybody say that? Item 2, approval of the minutes of the May 24th meeting. Is there approval for it?
Second.
Moved and seconded for the May 24th. Special meeting, May 27th, 2005.
so moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Under correspondence, first of all, you do have in your packets that you received over the weekend, you have your harbor lights from Little Harbor School. I hope everyone has had a chance to read it and see the accomplishments that are going on. In your packets tonight, there are 2 letters that I've asked to be put in for tonight. I will, I'm sorry, there's actually 3 letters, and then one that we'll talk about later, which is the technology. First of all, we have a letter written to school board members dated June 10th. I'm writing a letter to inform you of that the New Franklin PTO is hosting a farewell ceremony for our principal, Miss Connie Carmody, on June 21st. At Mrs. Carmody's request, we are keeping the celebration short and sweet. It will begin in New Franklin School Gymnasium at 9 a.m. At this time, there will be a speaker or 2, and then presentations by students. This event will culminate with a principal's favorite song sung by all, "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," a cappella. The children will go back to their classroom to await a piece of Mrs. Carmody's cake, while adults go outside the building to witness and unveil the hand-carved bench dedicated to Mrs. Carmody's honor, in Mrs. Carmody's honor. If you would consider time for your day to attend this modest event to say farewell to a wonderful woman, we would truly appreciate it. If you need more information, please feel free to contact me at my home, 433-5551, or online, Jennifer@Comcast. Is there a motion to accept and place on file?
Mr. Chairman, and I hope that most of us can go. We all love Connie Carmody, what she's done for this city and for the school system and for the future generations that will remember her as being an excellent, fine principal and teacher.
Been moved and seconded for the discussion in regards to Connie's farewell little charade. All those in favor, accepting the letter?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Letter I received on June 3rd, 2005. Dear Kent, I am writing you and Nancy Clayburgh asking if the school board members could write letters to President Bush in support of saving the Portsmouth shipyard. I've also written to Bob Lister asking the teachers and students also write letters. I am receiving a lot of letters from Maine side, including many from children, and I think Portsmouth children should also support the cause. The letters should be addressed to President Bush and delivered to the mayor's office, and they will be hand-delivered to the president's office by either a congressman or a senator. It is very important that we stand behind the Portsmouth Navy shipyard now in their time of need. We should keep in mind that if the shipyard closes, then that could mean that we lose a lot of students, as happened with the air base closed. I have a big bag here, and letters will go into it as I receive them. It is essential that Portsmouth show strong support with Maine in the effort to save the Portsmouth shipyard. Warm regards, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of the City of Portsmouth. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
So move, and I sincerely hope that everybody will sit down at their computer, word processor, and comply with the mayor's short line, Mr. President, save us, don't close the shipyard, or some such.
You didn't mention typewriters. John.
I was asked to be, we are a recipient, school board winner of an Eddie Award, and the Eddies were 2 weeks ago, and as a member of the State Board of Education, I was asked to be a presenter. And our former assistant superintendent was named the Superintendent of the Year at the Eddies. And the Eddies is a relatively formal affair where people wear coats and ties and folks get dressed up, and Chuck Ott appeared at the podium with a bright yellow T-shirt on that said, "Save our shipyard," and I really thought it was a wonderful gesture, and I think that our district should follow in his footsteps and his example.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of accepting and placing on file and endorsing by sending your letters to the mayor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. The last one, I'm just going to read in general. I got it, unfortunately, the day before there was a gathering for Mrs. Carmody out at the Country Club, but I got this on June 6th, and it came from Martha Fuller Clark regarding a meeting that was held here at the City Hall on June 7th, a week ago, between 7 and 9, regarding education funding, health care, and so forth. I was unable to respond to her because, unfortunately, we got it fairly short notice. I think others of you may have also received this, but I want to make sure that we place this on file appropriately. And again, I apologize that we could not attend, but I think we need a little more notice on this occasion. Charlie.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, place on file, I did attend and tried to represent the school board by asking intelligence questions that our member Lyons and everybody else would ask. No.
Thank you, Charlie.
Well, if you were there, then you did the job. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I'm sorry, Carl?
Also, a week before that, the school board was privileged to meet with our legislative representatives.
That's correct.
By ourselves, where we discussed educational funding and a number of other issues where Martha Fuller Clark was there. So we covered many of the things, fortunately, that perhaps that she was able to cover at that time.
That's a good point. I do want to thank our local legislative delegates for allowing us the last meeting about an hour's worth of time. It was good to discuss educational issues that affect us and funding issues that would affect us. We found it very enlightening and useful that down the road I would say that we need to do this maybe twice a year to meet with them.
Mm-hmm.
Clay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was also there at that meeting with Charlie, and it was a very educational meeting.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Well, then I know we were we know we were much better represented. Peter, did you bring the other letter in regards to the from Dish by chance?
I did.
There's another correspondence.
There's another blown assignment, but no.
No, he didn't blow this thing. Peter's handing out another correspondence that I wish to share with everyone that we have dealt with. This is in regards to the snack shack at the high school. Basically, for food purposes, it is no longer able to be used. It doesn't pass code, nor does it. It's just not a healthy situation. I truly appreciate Dish, who is a city health inspector, who this letter comes from. Well, actually, this is from Peter, but the letter that spawned this, the letter's on the back. I'm sorry, Dish's letter's on one side and Peter's response to us is on the other. We had a very successful All Boosters Club meeting 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I apologize. 2 weeks ago this coming Thursday. And number one, we do this twice a year with the booster groups. We are able to meet with them, see how we are doing, and making sure that they keep Peter's office informed. And when an incident comes up that might concern all of them, we can address it. The current snack shack at the high school, due to a number of issues that make it not suitable. It's not that it's a horrible building. It's just passé, and it isn't the way we should be serving food if we're going to stay with the standards at the high school. So no longer can serve prepared food. You can serve drinks and a bag of chips and so forth. The group was extremely enthusiastic. To date, we've had the roof donated. We pretty much are looking to have the cement form donated, and we may even have the building donated, but that still is not covering all the costs. This group will be meeting in the next 2 weeks to put together a plan along with Dr. Lister, who's going to work with the drafting department, the drafting class. Yep. Mr. Jones, to design a building, and hopefully we can have something before the fall season put up. But again, we need to go to both the planning board with this. We also need to go to the health inspector, the plumbing and electrical inspectors. This building must be in code to serve food. And again, I appreciate Dish's concern to make sure we do the right thing. Questions?
I have one.
Yes. Nancy?
Do we still have any kind of building in trades or trades class at the vocational school?
Yes, the Career Tech is a vocational building trades program by Jack Robley, and it's a very popular program.
So is there any way that could be included as a project within the school, or is...
Between the building trades program and the architectural drafting, it's talking about a building, looking at the building. As far as actually putting the building together, we haven't had the discussion about that yet. But a plan for the building they're working on.
I don't know if Portsmouth's ever done it, but houses have been built by high school.
Thank you for asking. Mr. Robley's entered into an agreement with Habitat for Humanity, and they're looking at building some small ranch homes. And if you see the facility that they have there, you'll see that they have the capability to do that, and they're very excited about it.
So it may be a snack shack.
Well, and that was discussed. The problem would be is that this would probably be done over the summer, and we would ask individuals that are in the junior class if they were interested, because the hope is to get it done before next season, and that may not happen. But it is not. I want to emphasize, it is not just booster groups that utilize that building. It is a number of organizations, including just recently the Cancer Society had their walk down there, and they could not, because this letter was issued on the 27th and they were walking on the 29th, they could not use that building. So, or they could not use it for food preparation. Right. So a motion to accept Dish's letter. Moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that's a plea to the people out there tonight. If anybody knows or wishes to help participate in rebuilding or building a new snack shack, please get a hold of Portsmouth School Department Central Office, and we'll lead you in the right direction. I have no other correspondence. Bob, do you have any other correspondence?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Public commentary session. At this time, I have nobody signed up to speak. Is there anybody that came in late that wishes to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on. Recognition of students and staff. Tonight, under item 4A, we have a sabbatical report back to us from Shannon Fernald in regards to her sabbatical she just had.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, while Shannon is setting up, each year when we've had requests for sabbaticals from teachers in the school districts and they receive the sabbatical thanks to the Board of Education, we ask them to come in front of the board and make a brief presentation after their sabbatical is over. And they've all agreed to do that. And Shannon, within the past year, has had a sabbatical from her classroom. She's a social studies teacher at the high school. And she's here tonight to give a brief presentation and a summary of her sabbatical and how she's going to use the information that she studied and was involved in her classroom in social studies. So if I can turn it over to Shannon Fernald.
Hello. Good evening. It's a pleasure to speak to you tonight. First of all, to thank you for the opportunity to take advantage of this sabbatical. For those of you that don't know me, I teach 9th grade World Geography and Global Cultures. I teach 10th grade American History, Early American History through Reconstruction. And I also teach a couple of junior and senior elective courses, specialty classes. One is the Cold War. Another is Global Studies, events going on in the world. And a new one that's going to be beginning next year is called the Modern Middle East. And this is a course that I designed as a part of earning my master's degree, which I just finished in August before I left to go on the sabbatical. So that's a little bit of what I do teach at Portsmouth High School in the Social Studies Department. And I think it'll help to understand how I can incorporate some of the places that I went and some of the things that I saw into my classroom. So first of all, if you look up here at the PowerPoint presentation, I did go for one full semester. First semester this year, I left in September, and I returned in January, so I've been teaching the second half, and I've been able to incorporate so much of what I learned into the classes that I teach. I had one section of the Cold War and then one section of early American history and the rest of all geographies this year. And when I went on the sabbatical, I chose London as a base because I had some connections there and I had a free place to stay, which was excellent because if you are going to travel through Europe, London is such an excellent hub to do that. There's two airlines one is called Ryanair and the other is called EasyJet, and they offer great cheap flights. I was going to Ireland for £14. I was going to Estonia for $28. So it was really great to work and find those. And from London is where I did a lot of the research, planning, and traveling to these locations. And I've highlighted in blue the countries that I went to and in some of the regions. I spent about 2 weeks in France traveling through the Normandy and Bordeaux regions. I use a lot of this in the American history classes as I toured through the invasion sites at Omaha and Utah Beach and Point the Hawk. I took a Nordic tour of Sweden and Finland. I spent some time in Estonia in the former Soviet Republic, which has now just been practicing democracy for about 12 years. I went to the Iberian Peninsula and saw Spain and Portugal. And I also skipped over from Spain into North Africa, where I spent some time in Morocco and got to experience the Arab world, which was so useful, and I know it will be great. It's been useful for geography for me, also incorporating the history of the war on terror, and it's going to be great for teaching the Middle East course next year. I did some hiking and skiing in Switzerland. I did a lot of history for the World War II class in Netherlands through visiting the Anne Frank House. And I also went to Wales, the Republic of Ireland, and Iceland. So I saw a lot of countries in 4 months, and it's really hard to incorporate just a couple of minutes to give to you guys what I did, but this is what I've got. I tried to break it down into topics, and the first one that I want to talk about is some of the political experiences I had on the trip. I was able to attend a public session of London's Parliament system, seeing the House of Lords and the House of Commons, and getting to experience Tony Blair speak to the people. It was very interesting to be traveling through Europe during the fall as the American elections were taking place. Seeing the reflection and the response to the re-election of U.S. President George Bush, traveling through Europe at times, I felt safer to say that I was from Canada than the United States, and students always love to hear that story. Not that I'm not proud of my American heritage, but in some places when you're a young female traveling, you just do things to protect yourself. And I think students really grasp onto, Ms. Fernald, please tell us, what was that like and what are those experiences? And then also just having the access to European news and press concerning the war in Iraq. I was able to collect and take a lot of newspaper articles that I use with students in class as we read and dissect them. Having the base in London, how I planned out the trip was I would travel for 2 or 3 weeks and then I'd come back to London and plan the next trip. And London is so great because it's so deep in history. I just thought I'd mention a couple of the museums that I spent a lot of time in, taking notes, taking pictures, and really tapping into some of their websites, which I've created some lessons for students to go into, especially the Cabinet War Rooms for the Cold War and the Imperial War Museum. Has so many excellent sites and information, all different types of sources, first-hand sources, and other people's research that students are able to get into more detail. Because in some of the classes for juniors and seniors, we don't necessarily have a textbook. The teachers supply all the resources. So it was really great to tap into some of these pieces here. And another whole area that I think I really learned and got interested in, and something I didn't know that much about, was art. Throughout Europe, obviously so many museums, and I was able to see exhibits on all of these following artists, and I just sort of got introduced to what a great way to bring not only art, but history and culture and biographies into the classroom. Great for geography. And I wanted to highlight a little bit of my time in North Africa. One place that I had planned to go to that I couldn't get to on the sabbatical was St. Petersburg, Russia. And the best time for traveling there for me was going to be in September. But if you do remember, there was the school, Belsan, in Russia that was involved in the Chechen rebel situation. So I had gone to Estonia with the thought of training into St. Petersburg to spend some time there. Unfortunately, because of that incident and all the deaths at the school, it was very, very difficult to get into Russia. They were requiring visas, very expensive, and since I was a female traveling with another companion, another female friend of mine, it was recommended that we would hire a guide, hire a car, and it just became far too expensive. So unfortunately, someday I hope to get back to St. Petersburg and take that tour. But I did get to Morocco, and having some experience in the Arab world is going to be great when I teach the Middle East course. Excuse me. I was there at a very political time. I was there just after the day that Yasser Arafat had passed away. So there was a lot of commotion in the streets about that. And it also happened to coincide with the last day of Ramadan, a very religious time in the Islamic calendar. And I experienced the call to prayer. This is one of the photographs that I did take. I saw extreme differences in the gender roles And just getting a little taste and visualization of the Arabic and Islamic community life, I think it really has added to what I do and how I teach some of those aspects in my classroom. Unfortunately, I would love to share all the pictures I have. I took a ton, but they are in my classroom, and maybe sometime, if you're interested, you could come see those. They're always open there for the students as well. And I also spent some time in Granada, Spain. I really tried to focus on what and how I was going to bring this information back to PHS and to my students. If you don't know about the La Alhambra, it's a very, very old fortress in Spain, and it's a mixture of Christian and Muslim culture, architecture, and a look into both of those religious faiths. And I took maps, photographs, drawings, and lots of notes about different places, and I think it's really going to add to the Middle East course curriculum. And then lastly, just some notes on how I apply what I did to my teaching. Certainly my lectures are accompanied with personal experiences and traveling throughout these countries. Students love to hear the stories and what was it really like. Did you have to wear a scarf in Morocco, Miss Fernald, yes or no? I have lots of photos, maps, and pamphlets that are on display in my classroom. PowerPoint presentations of my photos I use in geography, and certainly will use when I teach the new Modern Middle East course. And I think just personally, having the experience of a sabbatical, I felt such a renewed excitement for teaching, to be able to come back to PHS, to be missed, not only by students, but also by my colleagues. And everybody just wanted to know what I did and where I went and all that I saw and experienced. And it's such a wonderful experience. I wish more teachers could take advantage of it. Just all the knowledge that I got from being able to travel, to plan, and to incorporate even what I read back when I was in college to actually seeing some of these places myself. So, after earning a master's degree and feeling like, wow, I've had enough school for a while. I love my job. I love PHS, and it was such a great personal break as it was a professional break as well. And I'm just so pleased that I missed it, and I was ready to come home after all that time being away. So I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Questions?
Sure.
Charlie, I'm sorry.
It's really fascinating, and it's really quite fascinating. And, as an old soldier, I've been in a lot of those places. Just let me ask, I was ruminating while you were, planning your trip in London. Did the suggestion cross your mind, perhaps, of going to Jerusalem and being immersed in the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis? And in that context, if you want to see a really good movie, which brings that point out very well, it's Walking on Water, and how the Israelis and the Palestinians, some of them at least, are trying to get along. But did you think or take that into consideration, or was it The Expanse, or what?
I think certainly for me why I chose London is because I had a base there. And right now the value of the dollar is very expensive, and I really had to be on a budget as far as where I could go. So having a base and not having to pay rent for 4 months and just using my money from the sabbatical to have it as travel expenses, that's probably why I chose that particular place. It allowed me to stay in one spot and have a base for a long amount of time to travel to different locations. Certainly I would love to go to Israel. I don't have as many connections there as I do in Europe, but hopefully someday I can get there. Maybe on another sabbatical.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other questions? Carvel?
I don't have a question, but I just want to make this statement that there's been a lot said recently about budgets and the quality of our work, the quality that the students receive in Portsmouth, and there's been some discussion on all levels about that. And I just wanted to say that I'm glad we're on television tonight. I hope that the majority of the people in the community are watching, because the quality of this individual, Sharon Fernald, tells us a lot about our school system and the kind of people we have in our school system. And, even though we'd love to pay you more, like everybody. Thanks for being so dedicated, right, Mrs. Brulette?
Yeah, exactly right.
Thank you for being so dedicated, and all the time we have teachers that retire from our system who have been here 20, 25, and 30 years. It tells us a lot about the dedication, and so we should be very proud over the years from previous administrations, and of course this one as well, that we have people like you in our system, and thank you very much.
Ray.
Shannon, I have a particular joy in greeting you tonight because my mother's name was Shannon, as in fact is my number 3 granddaughter. But particularly, of course, those of us like Mr. Vaughn, myself, who traveled in another era in through Normandy with rather distressing circumstances and so forth. I'm interested to see that you work this into your agenda, and that, of course, is just, I suppose, selfish of me to think that. But thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome. That was one of the best surprises traveling through France. I always get, especially from the students, because they often repeat what they hear. Oh, you don't want to go to France, or why did you go to France? No one likes us in France. We're not going to call those fries French fries anymore. We're going to call them freedom fries. But I tell you, when I was in Caen, France, just outside of the Normandy region, people there, once they find out you're American, they hug you. They're still so happy and so grateful for what America did in helping flee and getting out the Germans from their country. And when you go and see those American cemeteries, and it's not only American cemeteries there's British, there's French, it's truly amazing. And you feel very, very proud. And I wasn't alive during that era. And for me to be able to bring that sense of pride back to my students really says a lot of why I enjoy teaching so much. That I can still learn from our past history and make it important to students and make it vital that they take an interest in what's going on in our world today. So.
Other questions or comments? John, I'll just make one follow up on that. I can remember when I was in the 8th grade, we housed a young lady in her late teens, early 20s through the 4-H IFFE, who was, her farm actually borders the cemeteries of the American casualties of Normandy. And she was repeatedly told by her family that when you go to America, you thank everyone for the freedom they gave us and for the help that they gave during the war to those families. Her name was Noelle, and the same type of experience, as you just said, that people, do need to communicate, and they do need to talk to strangers at times to understand the differences and really realize we're not that much different. So I think I really appreciate you bridging the gap, being able to bring this back and inspire students maybe to do the same as you, and hopefully with that type of inspiration we can lessen the amount of conflicts that we continuously hear about. Bob.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to add just to thank you for all the members of the board for allowing Shannon to be able to take the sabbatical and the other teachers that have come before you. This is another example of the rich curriculum that we have in the Portsmouth schools. And this is not just about Shannon Fernald, who took a sabbatical. What she has, and I've been to her classroom, what she has brought back is rich curriculum for all her students and for many people to benefit. We're also very proud of Shannon because she's a PHS graduate. So.
I didn't know that.
All right. Well, thank you
very
so much. And I really hope that a lot of teachers continue to be interested in the sabbatical because it's such a wonderful experience. And exactly what Dr. Lister said, the amount of information that you can research and bring back, it'll last me a lifetime. And I wish I could talk all night about every single place that I went to and what I can bring. But certainly, it was a wonderful experience.
In making that statement, Shannon, I hope maybe either during the summer or the first part of next year that maybe something we should incorporate along with sabbaticals so that parents understand and so that our taxpayers understand, as Carvel said, that how good we do research and allow for this, is maybe you could have a parent information night, especially where you have those types of slides. I know myself and many people would love to see and understand first of all, explaining how you took advantage of the sabbatical.
That's a good idea.
Sure, I find a lot of people really don't know that much about it. Even teachers in my building, I get stopped in the hallway. When are you going to show those slides? Or have you done that already? And really, how did you get the sabbatical? And did you really get paid? Yeah, I did, and it was wonderful. I mean, I used every cent for my traveling, but it was great. And I think that's a great idea. Anything to promote that professionalism among our staff would be a good idea.
I would appreciate that, Stu, and I think exactly that. If we could get faculty K through 12 interested in maybe it would inspire them.
Okay. That'd be great. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Shannon.
Thank you.
Any other students or staff to be recognized tonight, Dr. Lister?
Not this evening?
Not this evening. Administration, personnel, we have a nomination for an administrative position, is that correct?
Yes, I have two personnel items. One's administrative nomination, the other's a request for leave of absence. The first administrative nomination, I would like to nominate this evening a person for the principalship of the Portsmouth Alternative Secondary School PASS program, and that would be Nancy Roy. Nancy is a resident of Portsmouth, and she has been involved in the PASS program for several years in two different capacities. And we're nominating her this evening as principal of the PASS program to replace Carla Rice, who is returning to France.
So move.
Second.
It's moved in second. Discussion? John?
Again, Mr. Superintendent, and I know you've been behind this effort. It's wonderful to have people nominated for positions in our school system who are residents and taxpayers of the city of Portsmouth. I know that there was some comment as to some of the presentations made to the city council that a lot of the folks were teachers. They were also residents and taxpayers of the city of Portsmouth. And when we have employees who live in the city and understand what it's about, not only from a working standpoint, but from a living standpoint, I think that's fantastic. I know you're a resident of the city of Portsmouth, and you love this city, and I know Nancy Roy is the same. So this is a wonderful addition, and thank you very much for this hire.
Thank you. Other comments in regards to the position for Nancy Roy to be?
And just to remind everyone that the Portsmouth Alternative Secondary School is certainly a valuable asset to our system because so many of the students in the school may not have remained in high school if they didn't have this alternative plan. So, again, I applaud the administration for, how old is the school, Bob?
It started in 1992.
So it's been around for a while and has obviously proven that it is a successful program. So I wish Nancy all the luck in the world to continue to make this the wonderful program that it is.
Mm-hmm. Questions or comments? I'm going to make just one before we go to a vote on this. I want to, first of all, again, thanks. I know that Carla Rice, and I grew up with Carla. This was a hard decision on Carla to take this family chance and go back to France, of all places, where she could stay and raise her family and enjoy life there. There was a lot of debate on how to do that, and she's making a personal decision. But along that, Carla was just as concerned with leaving the position after only being back for a year and being one of the original faculty members of the PASS program 13 years ago. And she had a lengthy discussion with Dr. Lister, and then she had a lengthy discussion with myself regarding to find the right person for this spot. And with great confidence, Carla Rice requested that Nancy Roy be the candidate for this because she knows this program, knows how to work with his students. It is not just an administrative position. You have to know how to work with the most difficult students possible within the school system. So again, Carla did not want to leave this unattended. She wanted to make sure that a good transition to allow a very good candidate came in. And I want to thank Carla for nominating or bringing forth Nancy Roy as a strong candidate for this position. And I believe because of this, this program will now continue to prosper as it did over the last year. This is all those in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimous.
Thank you very much. The next personnel issue is a request for leave of absence, and this is for Kim McGuigan, who's a grade 5 teacher at New Franklin Elementary School. Kim is requesting a maternity leave of absence for the first semester of the 2005-2006 school year. She will complete the 3 years with the Portsmouth School Department, first being hired in 2002-2003 school year.
Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Knowing Kim, knowing that my son Wyatt had her, congratulations, and again, look forward to coming back to the New Franklin school system. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimously.
That's all I have for personnel. Thank
On
you.
the personnel, that's it. That brings us to committee reports. We have the Joint Building Committee, the JBC. I have a couple of things I want to make sure we go over. As you have the preliminary reports of our May 25th meeting, we are zeroing in on the closing of this project, but the JBC will probably meet right through to about December, closing out the books and so forth. Going through this just briefly, again, the playground equipment, and you know, quite often we get laughed at when we say we're putting in playground equipment at a high school, but we have a renowned, fabulous early childhood education program that does not only teach our young people how to educate and work with the toddlers, but it also certifies them. And yesterday at the award ceremony, I believe there were 5 certificates given out to students that had completed, meaning that they were now certified at a level to go ahead and work at daycare centers. So we don't only provide the information, we provide the programming to have people go out and work. So yes, there is playground equipment there for the toddlers. In that whole area, Peter can talk maybe a little bit. There was wood carpet covering. All the safety codes and requirements are met there. This is also the area that we had to rearrange the drainage when we hit Old Faithful and the water geyser that comes down. I still say we should bottle the water and make a fortune. So that's the drainage issue. The auditorium doors was reported. As you know, we could grandfather the doors in and not replace them, but this was not felt to be appropriate, and that the door, the hardwares, and everything needed to be replaced on these auditorium doors to meet code for both handicap and fire code. But again, I want to point out this was a decision to make sure we were updating for compliance, but not mandated for compliance. Practice field irrigation. As you know, we lost a field during this near what was the hill next to the old athletic building. This area was a staging area for the dirt that was removed. This area is about completed, reseeded, and above ground irrigation is now possible with piping and so forth, and being taken care of. The main entrance, we have a couple of main entrances, if you really want to say that now. There are what we would consider 3 main entrances to this school, one going to the VOTEP, which is on the immediate back side of the school. It is all our entrances look the same. They have a nice wooden facade, and they have a structure to them that is inviting. That's one entrance. It's on the back of the school that goes into the vocational area. Then the new entrance that all of us have been using currently since the building opened up last March, and then the reopening of the old entrance, which will be used during the morning and the afternoon, basically for buses coming in and out of. But then also this will allow the school only to open that for either events in the gym or in the auditorium, so that we can confine and lease that part of the building out when school functions aren't going on. Gym floor stripping design, it was shown by Forrest, the new design. All lines from basketball, volleyball, and yes, badminton, which is a growing sport, in all seriousness, are on that there along with the Clipper name and so forth. So if anybody would like to see this, and you will see this in a very short period of time, I'm going to explain how you're going to see this. Preliminary exterior signage. There are a lot of the typical signs like wrong way, one-way type signs. that people apparently ignore at times after school, and we'll discuss that later. But the good news is if you've been to the high school, Peter has them, and he'll pass them out left and right. These are copies of both of them. There is now 2 new signs about ready to go up. They're footings. It looks like you're entering into a national park almost. They're a beautiful setup, again, kind of going with the same wood structures that go with the main entrances of the high school. There will be, the main one as you come down Alumni Drive, and then there will be a secondary one up on Summit Ave as you come in that way or exit that way, that, again, just promote the school and, again, help define the school and the school area so that you can see the different locations. Very nice job so far, which also will help within the regards of the directions of the parking that goes on there during non-school events. Joanne Grasso reminded us that it had been to the date of the 25th 6 years for the JBC to meet. You have to remember, there were 3 years prior to that the school board had a preliminary group meeting to discuss that. So some had been there for 6, and some were dumb enough to be around 9 years on that day. Again, I think it is great that we've been around that long and that we're following up consistently. We also discussed that we have the dedication on August 28th. I know that Ann and Joanne and Peter are meeting tomorrow, and I may be back in time from the dairy. I just found out before I called that they're going to have my milk ready earlier. This event, again, we're encouraging. We would love to pack that auditorium. It's a great event because by that time, in and around August 15th, I believe it is, Peter, both Hutter and Team Design and all support construction groups will be pulling out, and the final of pavement. That, and then we went into all the financials that we're at, and if there's questions on that, I'll take them in a moment. On July 14th today, we decided, Nancy, Clayburgh, Peter, Bob, and I, that we are going to ask for one final meeting, and we will ask our counterparts on the City Council also to join us. We will have this meeting at the high school, probably in the high school library on the 14th at 6:30. We're going to confirm dates and get it out to you. This will be the final time that we all get together to go over things, sort of a punch list of what needs to be done and what they will be completing, so people have an understanding of where we stand, where we stood, and how we will wrap up this project as a team. Again, we will be sending letters out to the City Council. We will send them out. Actually, we'll actually ask SAU 50. We'll send it off to George Cushing so that they can sit in. They may not be able to participate, but we would love to have them attend because this will be the last chance for anything to discuss to wrap this project on up. There is a number of things outside that had been hoped to be done in the month of May, but as we all know, the best you could have done was build an ark during the month of May. And so there's a little catch-up on that, but things are progressing, and there are a few things even internally, not just in the VOTEC, that will be wrapped up as time goes on. So please keep your calendar free for July 14th at 6:30. I believe that's a Thursday, right?
It is a Thursday.
It is a Thursday, to be able to attend this meeting. Questions in regards to the JBC at this time? Peter, any comments to add before?
No, I just, you do have the sign description, the main sign that you see on the upper left-hand corner. It's hard to depict where it's going to be on your drawing, but if you come in Andrew Jarvis Drive, and just before you meet the intersection, before the circle, and before you go left or right to go either up the hill or go in towards the main front of the building, that sign will be an informational and directional sign that will greet everybody arriving at Portsmouth High School. It's shown by a little marker just before the parking area. The other
career tech sign, assuming that people are directed up around the hill, and or something coming up Summit Avenue, they would be up at the top of the hill, another sign that would further indicate that the Career Tech Center, which is around at the back part of the school where their other entrance will be, that's the intention is to give people that kind of informational direction. Down at the bottom, you can see that over the two main porticos going into the gymnasium/auditorium lobby would remain over the top to indicate the two locations of the auditorium and the gymnasium, and then around in the back with the facade showing the Career Tech Center, the signage would be over that. And I just would indicate to you that we will further make clear past board actions by using the names that previous boards have given and allowed to be associated with those three main areas. They are reflected in the board minutes and are indeed the way that it was determined by the board at one time.
Questions, Carol?
Yeah, as you finish, Mr. Chairman, your final punch list, I'd like to say publicly what I discussed briefly with Superintendent Lister, yourself, and Peter Torrey about the entrance to the school. And the main entrance, which is the one that's a little bit to the right as you face the building of the gym, and it directly enters that new section of the high school. I suggested that that was worth more than a blacktop coating leading up to the main entrance. I suggested that combinations of either stone, brick, or cement thereof would be an appropriate walkway leading into a cultural center so significant and our signature building in the city of Portsmouth, rather than have it blacktop. As you know, downtown now, the new model, if you will, for replacing sidewalks is either brick or cement. Nobody's putting blacktop down like they did 20 years ago because it was a little less expensive. And I think to this particular building, if you think of a grand building, you think of a high school, you want a walkway that feels like you're walking into a grand building. So I don't know necessarily where you're going to find the money. Maybe out of the goodness of the city's heart and Steve Parkinson, and they can they do such a great job in other parts of the city. Perhaps they could lay a beautiful walkway as a gift, with a little champagne, by August 28th. So that's just a suggestion I'd like to make.
Cobblestone. Pardon me? Nice cobblestone walk.
Cobblestone, whatever you think is appropriate for Portsmouth, but certainly not blacktop.
Real cheap, real cheap.
And Nancy.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the signage above the entrances when I noticed it on the print. And I'd be interested in knowing when they were named and why we've never referred to them by their names.
Is it the Hagstrom? Hagstrom is all, that name is there currently. Let me just see.
It's up in front of the auditorium?
Yep.
Yeah, there's that.
The auditorium, that one there is just a replacement, actually. Stone Gymnasium, when we dedicated it, we put the plaque up, but they actually wanted to pay for some of this, so that, and I believe it's in the budget anyway, but that hadn't been done. And I believe the Malloy Career Center, that had been named a number of years ago, but I don't think there was any. I think there's a plaque somewhere.
The signage.
Yeah, I think there's a picture. It's a picture up there. It's an encasement, I guess it was, right?
Well, it's too bad we haven't been. I mean, we refer to the Stone Gymnasium, and it gets referred to in the paper since it's been dedicated. But the other two, it's too bad that it hasn't historically been referred
Actually, I have to tell you, the Hagstrom Auditorium was named back when you were in school.
Well, I'm sure he was the superintendent when the school was built.
Yeah.
So, and Malloy was the vice principal when I was in school. So, and Stone was the basketball coach, so we must have been a pretty powerful group. But
Nancy, and I think what happens with this is it allows us to do the right thing that should have been done. And again, it was done in some manner, but it was pretty obscure in where it was done at best. In some places, like the Malloy, was very obscure. I mean, I always saw the other two, but there are other. I mean, we've taken into consideration other things because there was the audiovisual named after Jimmy Sullivan, who was a classmate of mine. There are a number of them that are out there that are smaller rooms and so forth that are also were named. Unfortunately, Jimmy died during our senior year. Nancy.
I don't know if other people feel this, I'm sure you do feel this way, but anytime I talk to someone that had recently been in our new high school, I mean, the comments are just so positive. It's just a magnificent building, and I hope that a lot of people will come on August 28th because I think the public out there, they have to see this building. It's magnificent. I happened to be in the computer labs last week, and I didn't know what it was going to look like, and it's huge, it's bright, it's colorful. Every single computer was occupied by a student. They were behaving, they were quiet, they were doing their work. The whole environment is so inviting to learning, and it's just a wonderful place. I have not been to the Korea Tech part of it yet, but people tell me that the Voc Tech in the Korea Tech, that's supposed to be, I mean, unbelievable, and I can't wait to see it. I just haven't had an opportunity to be there yet. So I think people, I hope a lot of people will come because it's definitely going to be worth a visit, I think, for everyone to see this building.
Other questions in regards? Oh, I'm sorry, Ray, I had you. Yep.
Well, that's okay, Mr. Chairman. You treat me very nicely, so that's okay. One of the dubious distinctions of having been around for a long time and having been on the school board for an interrupted period is that in terms of Herb Hagstrom, he was my neighbor and he was superintendent of schools when I was on the board the first term that I served on the board. In turn, we all know that Woody Stone, we did this ourselves in terms of the rather remarkable turnout which recommended that the gymnasium be named for him. You'll remember that, Mr. Chairman. And in turn, Babe Malloy was a part of my life for, goodness gracious, off and on for 20 years, I guess. So I just feel good that whether the plaques were temporarily out of sight, in the case of Hagstrom and Malloy, I just feel good to have people identified who do mean so much to the history of Portsmouth education. That's one thing. The other thing is a change of pace completely, Mr. Chairman. I mentioned before, I'm so pleased that you and Joanne Grasso, as the consistent members of the Joint Building Committee, you've been on it from the beginning, the way you've organized this with the adroit help of Peter Torrey and also of our contractors, but this is a remarkable performance in terms of what you have done. Now, we may find out later on that there's a leak somewhere, I mean, after all. But on the other hand, it looks to me as if the work that you've done is absolutely fantastic. And I am very grateful for that. I will say with some amusement that when I first came back onto the board in 2000, I attended your JBC meetings first thing in the morning for about 6 months, 7 months maybe. And I said to myself, hey, these people don't need me. They will tell me eventually as to what has been decided and was done. And so I quit going to the early morning sessions. I didn't want to be on the Joint Building Committee, believe me. But I did because I was wondering whether or not it was being capably handled. And finally, Peter, and I said this before, the minutes that are taken by somebody whose name is VK, and of course supervised by you, Mr. Torrey, are so explicit and so accurate that I've felt completely comfortable for almost 4 years now by having this and reading them carefully. And so I know as a board member precisely what's going on, how you've done it, when you've done it, and I know it's right, it's correct. And so I'm very, very grateful for that. I don't know what else I can say except to say that I'm just absolutely overjoyed at the whole planning and execution of this formidable building. And of course I have a particular interest because I had a little teeny part in it in terms of the career vocational addition. And I'm not bragging about it, I'm just saying I did at one point, all right? Thank you for your patience, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ray. Other questions, comments in regards to JBC? If not, our next one is, we do have another, which is the tech. It's in your manila envelope tonight. And I believe, Clay, you're going to report out?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Kent said, all of us have the minutes in our envelope. The Technology Committee had a meeting on June 9th at the central office. Those in attendance were SAU number 50 rep, Rod McDonald. Staff, we had Peter Torrey and Jim Andrews, and also Tom Watts. Also participating were Carvel Teft and also myself. We had also we had talked about the Metropolitan Area Network. Tom Watts informed the committee of the progress being made on the Metropolitan Area Network. The contractor for Bay Ring has installed at least partial fiber to Portsmouth High School, Portsmouth Middle School, Little Harbor School, Dondero, and Pass. And that was as of June 9, 2005. Each of these runs must be completed to City Hall and the connections spliced and tested before they can be activated. In addition, Tom has configured and worked with the city to install the core switch at City Hall for this project. 2 city sites have been completed, fiber runs, and are now live on the fiber. At the current rate, it is estimated that the fiber should be live for the beginning of the 2005-2006 school year. We also talked about the 2005-2006 budget. The committee discussed the unresolved nature of the 2005-2006 budget. Several of us emphasized the importance of funding the proposed technology integrator position and the database administrator position. Jim Andrews presented to the committee with a copy of the current technology plan. This plan is due for the revision and for resubmission. Jim Andrews and Tom Watts will update relevant areas for resubmission. The committee agreed that the primary focal point for future advancement should be integrating technology into the curriculum. In addition, the committee discussed many other ideas for future growth, including restructuring the computer curriculum to change focus from teaching students about computers to teaching through using computers, exploring opportunities in GIS, which is Government Info System technologies, and graphics and computer game design, also exploring the most appropriate hardware saturation level to support the learning environment. We also talked about the special education hardware needs and the hardware replacement cycle. We also ended the meeting that our next meeting will be August 9th at 4:30 p.m. and both Carvel and I plan on attending that meeting with great enthusiasm.
Thank you very much. Questions for anybody on the technology, for Clay or Peter or Carmel? Yes, Ann.
Thank you. Clay, I had a question about the actual technology plan. Can you tell us how old the plan is, what the date is when it was submitted before to the Department of Ed?
The plan was submitted, 3 years ago. So there are some board members that are on that plan that are currently not on the board at this time.
So they're planning on just updating the parts that they feel are
revising
most in
it,
need.
yes.
Thank you.
As a subnote to that, all school districts are required to have a technology plan on file with the Department of Education that addresses the curriculum, the equipment configuration, the access to technology, and any number of areas of staff training and so on and so forth. I'm sure that your districts are doing the same thing, and that's Portsmouth's version of it.
Thank you.
Other questions? The technology. Seeing none, are there any other committee reports that wish to report out tonight? Seeing none, we'll move to item 7, new business, approval of the 2005-2006 meeting dates. Discussion in regards to the meeting dates. You've had it, we gave it to you 2 meetings ago. These are the proposed locations. Again, remembering that we are at the second Tuesday always here at City Hall Chambers, televised. Then we go on our whirlwind tour of the different schools that are throughout. There are a few to be announced, and some of those will reside back to the boardroom back at Little Harbor. But again, it's good to go to each one of the schools. We've made those arrangements. We've also gone out, had meetings at Exchange City and so forth, which is, the Wentworth School, which is under our auspices. And we've also had them out where our PEEP program is. So, again, staying within the confines of our educational locations, which we're supposed to do. This gives us a chance to meet and again, take a brief look at the buildings while we're there. I also highly encourage people to take the time to go to those buildings. Questions in regards to dates? Charlie?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm sure this is made or read to present if there's some problem that says there's a new process for reserving the council chambers, and we cannot be guaranteed the room will be available. What's that all about?
Peter, have you had discussions in regards to that?
I just was having a discussion with Carvel that I wouldn't want to be printed. I'm not familiar with the council's new policy. It does seem a bit strange to me that one of the city's chartered departments who has been asked to come and have their meetings here and be accessible to the public is having trouble having the room reserved over a longer period and is treated like some other group. I don't know what the basis is of it all, but I'm sure I've got to believe that ought to be able to be resolved.
Can we go to Bob and then I'll come back to you, Charlie?
And we have had some discussions. I know Patty has had some discussions with City Hall, and I believe we're all set with that. We should be okay.
All right. I would say that on the Charter Commission, which I happen to have been a member, that we specifically, in order to accommodate the council, that their meetings would be on Mondays and ours would be on Tuesdays.
Correct.
There's no confusion in the city charter as to when we have our meetings. And I don't see why the city, and I hope there's no difficulty here. And I understand that there isn't.
We'll rely on our superintendent and make sure he deflects that. If there are questions, we'll ask Bob just to do a follow-up on that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn.
Nancy?
Could we meet on Wednesday, November 9th instead of Tuesday, November 8th?
We could, but then we are, this is a portion of what Charlie was saying. The city charter is pretty black and white in regards to that we are to meet the second Tuesday and then the fourth Tuesday of each month. That way we're not overlapping with other meetings. Those are the firm ones. The other ones meet at will of the city council. And they have some regular schedules, such as the planning board, board of adjustment. See, they're cutting out the mics. We're in trouble. So we really need to meet on that date. Is really if we're especially trying to stay in compliance with the city charter. There are always exceptions, weather or other issues. This is not a national election. It is a city election. Matter of fact, this building will be pretty busy that night because there will be both school board, city council, police, and fire commission elections this year. So we have to keep that in mind. I think we'll take a look at that, Nancy, because I'm not sure, again, members who are running for office and so forth, it may be tough for them to attend. John?
Do we only have one more meeting before July 12th?
That's correct.
Okay, so that would be 2 weeks from tonight is our last meeting for this past school year.
Fiscal year.
Okay.
School and fiscal year, that's correct. And again, let's first of all get a vote. Is there a motion to accept? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of the 2005-2006 meeting dates for the Portsmouth School Board?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm not opposed, but with the caveat that the election day one be reviewed.
Yeah, we'll review it. I'm not sure.
It's a good point that there are people who might be running and might want to hold signs, and
it's not going to be a convenient day.
If we don't have a quorum, what's the difference of even trying to do something we're not going to do anyway? So perhaps
it only happens every 6 years that it happens to be usually election days.
So this may be a critical sixth year.
Yeah, there you go. Charlie.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I didn't want to mean to indicate that in any way I would interfere with the candidates' nights, which might be picked on a Tuesday for a broadcast from this room.
That's correct. You would have that's a good point.
So if that's the case, then I will understand that we might lose it 1 or 2 nights at most.
That's November 1st.
You know, candidates, actually, Charlie, I believe the only candidates night, and I believe it would be too early, would be October 11th, 2005. And that usually candidates nights are about 2 weeks out, and that's about 4 weeks out. So that should not be a conflict. In discussing, I think what John was saying is that, as we know, City Council was meeting tonight in a final work session on budgets and so forth. This board, we may call a meeting once a budget is set, because no matter where that budget is, whether it's if it's at above 5.9, we'll have some of those programs and positions that we want to go in. But this board is going to have to sit down, and Peter, Bob, Nancy, and I met today in regards to this and make decisions probably prior to September 1st, not necessarily immediately, but there are 8 retirement positions plus teaching retirement positions plus other retirement positions that are on hold to be hired because of the budget in question. So there are at least 8 teaching positions and then a number of other support positions that Bob is waiting for this budget and waiting for the board to make decisions on a go-ahead to hire them. In discussion with Bob and Peter today, Bob did state that all 8 faculty positions are crucial to be rehired. Charlie.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, there might be an Andrea Doria collision here possible with the budget. As you know, the Senate turned down what I thought was an excellent proposal by the House and Governor Lynch. As yet, there's been no resolution, but the conference committee date, I don't know which it is, and I'll call on my good friend Ray Bowles. He might know what it is, but it will not be until that time.
Correct.
Will we be able to determine if or not we might get hit with a $200 hit in the nose?
Yes, we discussed that today, just to let you know. We know that the City Council may wait and see what happens there. Once we have our percentage, we'll be able to act upon certain things. But again, that's why those other positions are being held, because the board is going to have to make some crucial decisions on who to hire, what positions to keep, and what we could do to recreate some positions. So I believe, as much as July is usually a gift to this board, like I said, we have at least the joint building committee meeting, and I believe we'll have one budget-type meeting in July, if not early August. So I don't like to ruin your summers. Peter?
At your request, Mr. Chairman, I did sit in on the work session and stayed through. They started at 6:30 and they concluded about 20 past 7. A couple of things that might be helpful to know. The council reaffirmed, in the case of the school board at 5.9%, reaffirmed its vote, its straw vote. It was reaffirmed again that vote would straw portion. Second of all, they didn't straw vote it. It's clear that it is their intention, because they straw voted the capital budget as presented by the manager, which, as you know, does include a shift in assignment of $70,000 from what was going to be Little Harbor, the first whack at trying to sprinkle that building. It's not going to be enough anyway. And they voted to reassign that, or straw voted that, to the Little Harbor wall. That was discussed, and the capital budget as presented by the manager, $1,130,000 or $70,000, seemed to be holding from the straw vote. They did talk a bit about the state funding, and the mayor was somewhat optimistic that the governor has indicated he would support, although until he does it, he hasn't, the gases bill that doesn't eliminate donor towns, which is the concession. Half a loaf is better than no loaf, apparently, but says that it indicated that he would support the presentation as in the gases bill, which eliminates all but one donor town, although the donor mechanism is still in place. But Charlie, you and I both know, and Ray does too, state politics being what it is, it ain't over till it's over, and whether the half a loaf is going to succeed or not still bears watching. The last little tidbit that I would pass on to you is the council is scheduled to vote its 6 budget resolutions on Monday night, the 20th of June. There was a request by one council member to say, gee, a prior commitment is possibly going to complicate his presence at the meeting on the 20th, and if there wouldn't be all 9 members there, would they vote to delay the vote to a week later? They took no action on that and said we would wait and see whether that person made it to the meeting on the 20th or not. It involves a plane ride and getting back if it's delayed and so on and so forth. I think it's critical for us that vote go through on the 20th. I say critical. I mean, not that it couldn't wait another week, but I think just as we talked about the hiring and the filling of those other slots, at least to know that our 5.9 is in place and locked in. I don't know whether there was interest on the rest of the council's part to say, gee, if there aren't 9 votes there, and it would be 8 votes one way or the other, whether or not they wanted to hold the meeting off a week. But that was discussed, and I would say it bears watching on Monday night, the 20th, that if indeed only 8 councils are there, that discussion will come up, and how they vote. They didn't tell us how they were going to vote tonight on that, and there could be a motion to delay resolution vote for 1 more week so that all 9 could be there. Whether that alone would have a majority within the 8 that are left, I don't know. But it bears watching. I think we all remain hopeful that whatever comes what may, that Monday night is the vote and we can move on. But that's the information that I learned tonight. There were other straw votes on other parts of the budget. I'll leave those to the network of how news gets around.
Thank you, Peter, for attending that. I had asked Peter that we have some represented along with Bob this afternoon, just to make sure we had some representation. We were unable to have presence in there due to a non-public hearing earlier. So, again, thank you for that update. Hot on the news. Make you a reporter.
Yeah, that's me.
Could be a career after you retire. Other new business to be brought forth. Right now we have the New Hampshire School Boards Association for call for resolutions. You have in your packets tonight the process of writing one. It is close. You have till July 8th. If you would like assistance with this, I have had a number of trials and tribulations with the writing of resolutions and be more than glad to assist you. There are a number of them here. Remember, we take a vote on these in mid-September or late September, early October, so our representation there can go ahead and vote on this properly. Again, if you have something that you would like the state legislators, and we had an excellent meeting with our legislators, as Carvel reminded us a few weeks ago, this is our opportunity. If you see something that the state should take action for betterment of education or betterment of the students of the state of New Hampshire, it gives you an avenue to be actually the author of this legislation. So if there's interest, please see Bob, myself, or if you're more comfortable even calling up and bugging Ted Comstock or Dean Mitchner. Other new business to be brought forth? Seeing none. Continuing business tonight. Is there any continuing business? Moving right along. Financial. Peter, you're up.
The May financial report is in the board's packet. It is one that we are now 11/12 of the way through. It still shows us on target budgetarily to finish out the year positively. I have been nervous about this budget, more nervous than I have been in a long time. And there I can put out a couple of line items that have caused that nervousness. We are beginning to close out salaries and payrolls now here for the month of June, and I'm literally watching it almost on a day-to-day basis. It's beginning to seem to be okay to me, but there will be no miracle in this budget this year. some line items just to point out to you that, as I predicted all along, the substitute line is gone negative. There is one more month to go. That will be negative as in about the number that I had thought. A few negatives up in the benefit areas, but nothing major and nothing that's not of concern. The backside, out of district tuition, 165, is negative now. It's a typical line item that will is unpredictably negative, I guess is the way to say it. Is that it always seems like we get those surprises in that line item, and they're not just $5,000 surprises, but it's not going to be as bad, I think, as we once thought. Going down into the district operating budgets, we knew about our property liability insurance because of the high school was going negative. The athletic fields had some work done on the grass. I really wanted to wait with the budget freeze until July 1. However, had I done that, the field would not be in any kind of condition for football in the fall, so there really wasn't a choice. The good news is that our mowing contract with Piscataqua Landscaping included a free slice seed, a hydro seed slice seed of the rest of the field to go along with the treatment that had to be done on the center of the field. You know, it was sodded a year ago, and the sod just didn't hold up. So the work has been done, and it's there. The two items that are the scary numbers to me, because there's still another month to go, although maintenance has been shut down quite some time, but it still is $170,000 negative with all the surprises and the snow plowing on top of that. Energy is the one that has caused me the most consternation, but it is the full year's hit of a brand new building with 100,000 square feet of new space that really we had no track record on, and at the same time we also have been air conditioning it. I know there's been discussion about air conditioning of recent days over there. It costs somewhere between $1,200 and $1,500 a day to run the air conditioner at that school at the lower level, so that there's perfect comfort. What I had done is to ration the air conditioning because of the cost of what we had learned over last summer and into the fall. But ultimately, there was no way to hold off the muggy air the last couple of days. But we're still working the kinks out of what can be on and what can't be on at certain times, and I think there's still some learning of how to manage that system. That number is negative for two reasons, the $231,000. One is the huge hit of electricity, just running that building with something like 200 new motors that all run. They may run efficiently, but they still consume electricity. The second is the cost of the air conditioning, which is also felt in the electricity budget. And then the third thing has been the price of natural gas over the course of the winter. And you know that we have shielded ourselves from some of that by using fixed pricing contracts. But nonetheless, it is still more than we had possibly budgeted. So, you know, if we can close out the year and survive those two, and with the month of June yet to go, and still be in the positive, I'll be extremely happy. And that'll be my parting gift to you as a closed out budget in the positive, and in a year that has those two kind of numbers in it.
You can come up with $5 at the end.
And if I can leave $5, I'll try and do that.
Questions for Peter? Seeing no questions, thank you very much, Peter. Next agenda is June 28th. That will be at the boardroom at the Little Harbor School. Before we move on to other, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the class of 2005 for almost graduating. They've got a few more days, so hold on to your hats, behave, and have a safe graduation. Let me again point out that today was their senior banquet. Bob was able to go down and say howdy. And tomorrow is baccalaureate. And again, if you want to see students, remember there are no adults that participate in this program. It is totally by the students. It's probably one of the warmest feelings that you can get. And I really encourage students to participate with their classmates. I just think it's a lovely chance to take the reins and not have adults interfere. Then on Thursday at 1 o'clock is the senior awards. We did have the underclass or the general awards on Monday afternoon. And then, please, board members, if you can make it, I really appreciate it, board members, to march. I believe we have got to be there, ready to march in at 4:30. Am I correct, Patty?
5 o'clock.
I thought we had to be in the room at 4:30. Yeah, I think you have to be. We're asking you to be at the room at 4:30 there, just because of parking.
Better for parking.
Yeah, and we have not seen the circle parking passes yet. Just to let out.
I got one.
I got one.
I got one.
I got it, and I think it's said to be there at 5 for 5:30.
Yeah. Oh, do that. Okay, so the original one said 4:30, but again, the parking is going to be. And if you have not put your ticket request in, please do so immediate with your ticket. Yeah, see, I got mine. That I got.
Mine
So did I.
I got a little postcard.
And the parking pass was in the package.
I think I did.
And again, circle parking will be in the old circle, so you're not confused with the new circle.
The old circle is the old, to the left of the gym.
Yeah, to the left. Yep.
Right. That's the
And we encourage you, it is a wonderful time to see our students. And again, when you talk about operational audits and so forth, this is where it counts. You will see so many dollars in scholarships. You will see students that have been accepted. Nancy, with the parent-teacher organization at the high school, will be posting the number of schools, the schools that they're going to. We have a highly successful school system due to the hard work of our faculty out there. Other business, Nancy.
And I have.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'll
get Ann first. Ann?
I really just wanted to commend the newsletter team from Harbor Lights. I really enjoy their publication. I feel as though I know everything that's happening at the school, and they do an all-inclusive job in terms of activities and the academic areas, and they have to be commended. Very well done.
It's an excellent newsletter.
The other thing is Destination Imagination. Are we going to have a chance to see those kids from the middle school that went to the Worlds?
Yes, actually, Mr. Stokel, I was talking about that the other day, and I'll ask him and see if we can arrange something. Yes.
Well, I can report on the Destination did you know that out of almost 100 teams, they came in 6. So our middle school team did very well at the Destination Imagination, the global finals, which was in Tennessee.
Let me report out, too, on one thing that I was unaware, and I hope we can get the information correct from the high school so that we can announce this and maybe even have these students come forth. We had 2 teams that went to the state science fair, science and technology fair. Out of the 2 teams, they were both freshman teams. And they competed against 175 students. And the 2 freshman teams in their fields, one was physics, and the other one was astronomy. One took third, and one took first. And again, they competed. They were in one of their fields. They were the only freshman team in it. So again, I think it should be well noted. Again, when we are measured on what gets done, this is an outstanding accomplishment. This was the 3rd Science and Technology Fair, and the 2nd time we've participated, I believe.
That's correct.
Yeah. So I think information there, I'd love to get a little more on it and have these students come before us. Nancy, you're up.
I just wanted to talk about, for a minute, the All-City Concert, which was held a week ago Wednesday night at the auditorium at the high school. And it featured, of course, the high school band, the high school chorus, but it also brought in some of the smaller groups like the jazz band, the percussion ensemble, the orchestra, which is really coming along. I believe that this year there are freshmen in the orchestra. That's the highest it goes. So next year we'll have sophomores in the orchestra. So that program has really grown. And then we had the elementary choruses perform also. It was a long concert, but it just absolutely showed the talent, the dedication, and the excitement that the kids have for our musical program in our school, starting in elementary school and going all the way through the high school. Some of these kids are just extraordinarily talented. They are just very talented kids. The staff, of course, starting with, Wendell Purrington Eric Gagnon and Steve Cirillo and Gwen Baker. They're just totally dedicated staff to our kids, and I think they deserve a big thank you from all of us. But the concert, there wasn't one person that walked out of that auditorium that wasn't in awe. The performances were just incredible. And then a week later we had the middle school concert. It just makes the program too long to do them all at the same time. So the middle school had its program. And again, you can see how these kids are really getting it by the time they're in the 6th grade. And Carvel was there. I know he was impressed too. It was just a wonderful performance by the kids at the middle school. So I just wanted to talk about that for a minute. But it seems like I always talk about the music and the drama because it's an interest I have. But sports, Bob, I don't know if anybody wants to talk about the sports. We had our boys lacrosse team and our girls lacrosse team that both did very well this season. They were both in the state championships. Our baseball team did go to the states, correct?
No, semifinals.
Semifinals, okay. And then our track and field, of course, Corey Thorne continues to break records and is a very gifted runner. And, our sports did really well this spring also.
I'll report on a couple things, just to let you know. First of all, I want to thank Channel 22, along with John Bohenko and hard work on Bob Lister to get it off. For the first time, we telecasted the lacrosse semifinals for the boys. We're going to work with Bob, Guy Hampson, and the city officials to make sure that we do more sports coverage, and because this really has gone over well. We're now in the 2nd year of doing this, but we did have a number of requests. The girls lacrosse also played. The girls, the tennis teams did well this year too, and the baseball team made it the furthest it had in a number of years. Did an excellent job at the awards banquet just yesterday for, again, last year's baseball team was a runner-up. And these aren't done without a lot of help from the community, so we want to thank them. And again, there are just a number of sports teams out there well represented. For the first time in a number of years, I can speak that the boys decathlon, with one individual that lives in my household, has competed for 3 years, but this is the first time with the absence of over 10 years that there are 4 girls going to the heptathlon the same day that the decathlon is in Nashua. So things are going well. And
I'd just like to mention that some of you may or may not have seen that the Dondero Chorus with Diane McGee performed for the City Council, and also they performed at the All-City Concert as well.
Thank you. So there are a number of things. It's tough to keep up with, and we appreciate that they're done. Nancy, any other numbers?
I do have one more thing. We're putting together this list of colleges that our graduating seniors are going to, and it's a partial list that I have here. We're going to have it ready for graduation night. So in every program, there'll be a list of the colleges that the students got accepted to, not only that they're attending, but we wanted to show everybody, just all the schools that the kids have been accepted to. And it's not just colleges. It might be a community college. It might be a vocational kind of school. It might be the United States Army, the Navy, whatever. But we're trying to put together as complete a list as possible. And this list is so impressive. We have a number of students that were accepted to schools like Boston College, Tufts University. Those colleges are very difficult to get into. And I think we should be very proud of the presence that our students have made this year. Quite a few going to UNH, which we all know is a fine, fine institution. But you'll all see this the next time we get together, and if you go to graduation, you'll have the list. Our plan is to also send it to the newspapers, and we really hope the newspapers publish the list because we want to brag about how great our students have done this year, and they do every year. But this will be a complete list of every college that a student got accepted to. So look for it.
John.
It would seem to me that would be the kind of list that would eliminate the school department from going forward with any kind of performance audit, Mr. Chairman. That list ought to be enough to answer any questions anybody has about the Portsmouth School Department. Thank you very much.
And I went to the University of West U, so with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.